Okay, let's talk about getting things done. What if I told you that everything you think you know about productivity, about hustling, is actually the least efficient way to get where you want to go? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful new way of thinking that just flips that whole idea on its head. It's called the law of minimum latency.
So first things first, we have to tackle this idea that's, at the very heart of modern work culture, this belief that hustle is the only way to win.
This quote from Albert, who's the mind behind this whole framework, is really our starting point. I mean, it's a direct shot at that rise and grind mentality. The argument he's making is that just using brute force, just trying harder and harder, is fundamentally wasteful. It's kind of like revving your car's engine while it's in neutral. You're making a ton of noise, generating a lot of heat, but you're not actually going anywhere. And this really shows you the two paths you can take. Over on one side, you've got hustle culture. It's all about applying force, which, guess what, always creates friction and heat. And in this model, that's just wasted energy. But then, on the other side, you have the alternative, minimum latency. Now, this is not about being lazy. It's about being incredibly smart. It's about finding alignment, getting into that state of flow, and discovering a sense of ease in what you do.
Now, you might hear a term like minimum latency and think it's some new age tech buzzword. But the thing is, the core idea behind it is, well, it's ancient. We're really just looking at a timeless piece of wisdom that's been given a serious upgrade for our crazy, high-friction modern world.
Let's kind of trace how we got here. The idea really starts thousands of years ago with the Taoist concept of Wu Wei. It basically means action through non-action. It's about going with the current, not fighting against it. Much later, that idea evolved into something you've probably heard of, the psychological concept of flow, that amazing feeling of being totally lost in what you're doing. But even flow needed an upgrade to be a truly practical tool, and that's what leads us right here, to the law of minimum latency.
And that's the big question, isn't it? We all know what flow is, and we know it feels great when we're in it. But why wasn't that enough? Why did we need something more?
Well, here's the problem. In our world of constant pings, notifications, and digital distractions, an idea like non-action can just sound like a fancy excuse for being lazy. And flow, as wonderful as it is often just too vague. You can't just write achieve flow state on your to-do list and expect it to happen, right? We needed a more concrete, almost an engineering-based approach to get there on purpose.
And that brings us right to the heart of it all. This is where we turn a fuzzy idea into a solid, physics-based way to think about performance. So here's the crucial definition, the big takeaway. The law of minimum latency, or LML, asks you to stop thinking like a worker who just has to push harder and start thinking like an engineer. You treat everything, your work, your team, even your own mind, as a system. And the goal isn't to muscle your way through that system, it's to redesign the system itself so there's less resistance in the first place.
And what's so cool about this is that it isn't just some self-help philosophy, it's actually grounded in hard science. Take thermodynamics. We know that forcing things creates heat, which is literally wasted energy. And from cognitive load theory and psychology, we know the same exact thing applies to our brains. True mastery, true genius isn't about more mental effort. It's about reducing all that cognitive friction so the right actions become automatic, almost effortless. Okay, so the theory is compelling for sure, but how do we actually do it? How do we use this? Well, that's where something called the zero-drag protocol comes in. This is the practical how-to part. And the mechanism to get to this state is actually surprisingly simple. It really just boils down to a two-step process. First, you do an audit to find all the friction points, and then you follow a really clear protocol to get rid of them.
So, step one is the zero-drag audit. This is where you put on your detective hat and investigate your own workflow. You look at any process, and you hunt for any point of resistance, any drag. And this could be anything. It could be an unnecessary decision you have to make every single morning, a piece of software that's just clunky to use, or even that emotional resistance you feel when you procrastinate. It's all just drag.
And once you've found that drag, the protocol itself is so powerful because it's completely counterintuitive. The rule is, do not add force. Don't just try to power through the friction. Instead, your job is to remove it. You redesign the process, you automate that decision, you deal with that emotional block. You basically align your goal with the system's own path of least resistance, so the outcome you want starts to feel like it's happening all by itself.
All right, let's bring all of this home. Let's make it about you, because this isn't just a theory for some big company or an elite athlete. It's a mental model that you can apply to literally any goal you have in your life.
So, this is the question I really want you to walk away with. Take a hard look at your own work, at your own life. Where are you just applying brute force when you could be removing drag? Where is the hustle that's really just you spinning your wheels and generating wasted heat? What's one tiny change you could make to the system around you to make the right thing happen just a little bit more easily?
Because at the end of the day, this is the ultimate goal. Mastery isn't some heroic, teeth-gritting struggle against the world. It's about elegance. It's about efficiency. It's about having the wisdom to identify that path of least thermodynamic resistance, and then having the grace to just slide down it.